Hello and welcome to A Few Minutes with the Mayor. My name is Damian Graham. I'm with the City of Raleigh, and of course, Mayor Mance McFarland has joined us today. Normally, this show, for those of you who are avid watchers or followers of our program, you know that we typically address issues that the council is taking on or the city is taking on. Today's a little bit different because it's a special day here in the city. We are filming this from the Raleigh Convention Center, where this weekend we are hosting the International Festival. And that's a weekend-long celebration of the global heritage of North Carolina.
And lots of good food.
And topped off by the great food. But this morning, you got to participate in a naturalization ceremony where dozens of folks became U.S. citizens for the first time. Tell us about what that experience must have been like.
It was amazing. We had, I think they said 119 people from 44 different countries, and they read out every single country. Some was just one, some it was as much as 8 or 9. But it's really, really moving because all of these people have worked so hard. You know, to the test they have to take is amazing. They, learn all about obviously history and government, and to see them all also kind of renounce any allegiance to the country they're from to become a citizen of the United States. And I know they all have different stories, but sitting there watching it, it just makes me wonder what they've all gone through, to really take that step and to see in their eyes how much it means to them. It was very moving.
I'm always struck by that, just what folks have to sacrifice and leave behind, not just their immediate, but years and years of family heritage to come to here now, to Raleigh in many cases. So immigration in general is a hot topic. You hear it in the news, particularly in the political season. It's not something typically that the city takes on. Right. Why is that?
Well, it's really a federal issue, and the federal rules really trump everybody else. I think it was in the 1950s, Congress passed the Immigration and Naturalization Act, I think it was called, but it set out that federal policy dictates immigration law. States can set immigration law, but the federal supersedes it, and it goes for cities too. And obviously for Raleigh, we are, some people may not know, we're what's called a Dillon state. Right. So as a city, we only have the power that is given to us by the General Assembly, as opposed to what's called a home rule state like South Carolina, where the cities can have more flexibility in the laws that they create. But here, we are very constrained. So even if we were to make immigration law, it really wouldn't legally have any effect because the state and then the federal government supersede it.
We don't have any bearing necessarily over the jurisdiction.
And I think there's also a lot of confusion with police and the sheriff's department. Because the police are here for the Raleigh City Police, anyone that gets in trouble. They will help you. They don't care where you're from or your papers, any of that. That is not the police issue. Right. They are just here to help you if you are the victim of a crime. They are here to serve and protect. And
so you alluded to this when you're talking about North Carolina being a Dillon state. Other mayors some mayors are not across the country. So how does that play a role here with this?
So I mentioned states that have home rule, and they often have what's called a strong mayor system. We are a council manager form of government, so we set policy as a council and think about it like we're like the board of a company, and then our city manager is the CEO. Right. So we set policy, the city manager enacts it. In another state, New York or South Carolina, the mayor of the city, all of the department heads report to the mayor. The mayor has much more authority to dictate policy on their own and to set those laws for the city. So you hear some cities talking about sanctuary cities. That is a decision that sometimes the mayor can make alone. It kind of even within home rule, you have some differences. Right. But you still have those battles between state and federal. I mean, federal always supersedes everything else. But that's why you hear a lot of cities around the country doing a lot of very different things. And sometimes people think, well, why isn't Raleigh doing that? Well, we just don't have the legal authority to do a lot of things you see in other cities.
So this morning, in your role at the ceremony for the naturalization, you put a bit of a challenge to these new citizens. And so I'm going to read a quote from your comments. It says, "In this country, many of our greatest challenges have been overcome by bright, energetic people working together." What were you trying to dig out there?
Well, I was really, it was sort of a call to action for everybody. I mean, you're now a citizen of the United States, and you benefit from all that comes with that, but you also have a responsibility to everyone else here, and that is to participate. They even had the voter registration table there, so people could register and actually be able to vote in this election. So, as I said, whether some people will start a business, some people may be a PTA president. I mean, some people may eventually run for office. You never, I've done all three, but that's beside the point. But I think it's really integrating yourself into everything around you, and what the city is a shared collective vision, and that is really important. As more and more people come here, we want them to be a part of how we see ourselves.
Well, and that sort of leads to my last question. I mean, you've often said it's the diversity that makes the city so great. How do you see these folks playing a significant role in our community?
I think a lot of it is education of the people around them. Many people may have lived in the same place and not traveled and really not know or have experienced what is going on in other countries. I know my children went to Enloe, and they had friends from all over the world, and just the insight they gained from going to their friends' homes and seeing how their family that may be here temporarily or had just moved here saw us. That's a huge insight, I think, because it's often, I think it's really helpful to see yourself through other people's eyes.
That's so true. My kids are at elementary school, and one of the teacher at their school who teaches English as a second language, in her one classroom, she has 22 different languages represented.
Wow. That's amazing.
It is amazing. Yeah. And my wife and I, we challenged her, could you name 22 different languages? We came close, but couldn't quite get to 22. But it is amazing how global this community really has become over the last several years, and will continue to grow that way.
You're right, and it will continue to grow. And whether it's business or education or whatever, the world is globalizing. And so the more exposure you have, the better you're going to be able to not only fit in, but be successful in whatever you choose to do.
Well said. Well, Mayor, thank you for taking time on this wonderful day, and thank you for taking time to watch us.
Sure. Thank you.